I've spent the last 18 months or so trying to accelerate change in Southern California on the peak oil issue. And I'd like to share just a few closing thoughts with you from the perspective of an elected official who's been serving for 6 years on a city council. First, I want to remind you that things are the way they are for a reason. There are tremendous forces working to keep the status quo in our communities because the status quo is working for someone, just maybe not you in particular, but it works for those who actually choose to have a say in the system. There is a lot of confusion out there. You've heard it from many, many people, and what confusion does, it doesn't make people come to some kind of action. It makes them kind of wait and sit and wait until the dust settles before they take action. So when you're going out there and spreading the word, don't add to the confusion. Try to create a simple message that people can understand, and especially one that connects with the interests of that particular community. It's really important that you remember that you have to connect with that community. We're very different around the United States. And I want to offer a frame for this because I really can't overstress the importance of a frame. And it's almost as if we've been handed one. In August, there was a poll done in America, and they asked Americans the #1 national security issue. 42% said that the #1 issue was energy independence. Global warming and climate change didn't come up at all in this poll. But it's interesting, though, that cities are dialed in now to the global warming issue. So I would suggest that you might want to wrap this in energy independence when you're discussing these kinds of things. And just to stress this importance of framing an issue, I want to offer an example. The League of California Cities did a poll of people. They asked them to tell them about government. The reaction they got from people, and I saw the film on this, the reaction was almost entirely was one of laughter. You ask people about government and they just laugh. And then they changed it and they said, tell us about public structure. And then people started dialoguing. It was incredible to see people telling you, well, we need roads and libraries, and they really entered into a dialogue. So it's important to frame the message carefully. There are state efforts, local efforts. The European Union is poised to set some really stringent efficient standards for appliances and for autos, which if America wants to sell into those markets, they're going to have to meet those standards. So maybe Europe is actually going to be the driving force in the United States. And of course, we would all like a little bit more leadership from the top. But there really is no such thing as a leader. Leadership is a behavior, it's an activity, and we all should do more of it. And that means all of us in this room can exhibit that kind of behavior. We need to look outside of our communities, but we also, yes, California is doing a lot in this area, and hopefully the Supreme Court won't throw out some of what we're trying to do. But of course, if you live in Texas, you don't want to hold up California as an example because that won't resonate in Texas. Local government has an important role to play in this, and we all recognize that because we do the land use and the transportation planning. But they really can't do it without all of your support. You have to provide some inertia to get those so-called leaders to move forward. They have to know that there's somebody there that's going to, they're not going to go out on a limb by themselves. They have to know that someone is there to support these ideas. Local action has an important role to play in preparing for and responding to peak oil. So I urge you to sell the benefits of local action to your government. And of course, they all can buy into this idea that it means economic prosperity. And in fact, I don't think you can find a single city in the world that has gone out there and done something about global warming and experienced any kind of economic loss. I think just the opposite is true. They're creating employment and opportunities for their communities. Now, and getting back to the community aspect of it, every community is different. They have a different comfort level, And so as you go through, as you search out on the web the various cities throughout America that are really dealing with this, and you will find it framed in different ways. It might be energy efficiency, it might be sustainability, it might be global warming. They may frame it differently, but I think they are very much trying to get at some of these energy issues. And there are organizations out there and consultants and people who can help local government in dealing with this issue. This happens to be ICLEI. It's not a very nice acronym. They actually changed their name to Local Governments for Sustainability. They work with hundreds of governments, local governments around the world in global warming and tracking carbon emissions, so around the world and in the United States. And so now we're at this fork in the road, and depending on which fork we take, you know, whether we have a lot of time or less time will depend on the options that we take. Just remember that government is probably not going to act as swiftly as all of you would like, because you know that politicians will typically do the easy thing when the going gets tough, and that's the way it is. But what do you expect? Because those of us behind those local officials sometimes aren't out there doing the tough things either. And so I would like to challenge everyone here, whether you're elected, whether you're a staff member, a citizen, you need to go out there and dance on the scope, dance on the edge of the scope of your authority. Don't go so far out that you get pushed off the cliff, but go out there just far enough to get these people motivated and educate others and inspire others, as others have inspired. I know myself, I'm very thankful to ASPO and all of the great conferences that they put on. I wouldn't be here today if not for them. And finally, we really don't have anything to lose. Just as oil reserves are a potential energy resource, I suggest that you are a potential changer of the universe. And the last thing I will say is some very important lesson that I've learned in the last 6 years as a city council member, and that is that relationships are primary and everything else is secondary. And remember that next time you challenge someone. Randy suggested that we should not be shrill, and he's absolutely right. You never know who you are going to need to reach out to someone, to act as a bridge to someone else. So don't burn your bridges behind you.